Good afternoon or good evening all. Welcome to another TRSB Sports podcast with myself, Shane Bowers. Happy to have on the show this evening Shane Watson, Chief Operating Officer for SJAM Boxing. How are you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Like I said, it is a pleasure to have you on the show this evening. With the podcast, we've had many boxers on. We've had boxers' old mans on. We've had coaches on. And for a while now, me and Tom have really wanted to try and hear the other side of boxing, sort of like a promoter side of it or a management consultant side of it. So this is why we're really pleased to have you on. But I suppose before I go into anything like that, I'd probably need to find out a little bit more about yourself. So how you got into the profession for a start, Shane?
So basically, it all started out some time back. So I went to university at Hertfordshire Uni. I studied journalism and media. I met still my best friend today at uni. And we started like a YouTube channel a while back, TRSB Sports. And we were going around interviewing like Tyson Fury and Joshua, Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor. Like, it was crazy as uni students. Like, we just felt passionate about boxing. Like, go around and obviously interview like people who we really looked up to, and like Nigel Benn, and like the list goes on and on and on. And so yeah, that's what we started out doing. We did that for a couple of years, really enjoyed it. And you kind of hit like the big real world where you kind of need to get like a real job and like, earn money. And I was like, okay, so, like interviewing on a YouTube channel ain't going to be like amazing moving forward for me. So I was like, okay. So instead I was like, we need to like maybe think about something else. I went to work for a boxing social for a little bit. That didn't last too long there because it was actually before Rob Tebbit and that came there. Someone else owned boxing social. Right. And yeah, that was like kind of like a long story. Then I got approached by Sam and Adam. Obviously, Sam was at SJAM at the time, to work for SJAM and to get involved in the management side because they realised about my potential, how much I knew about the game, I had good contacts in the sport. So, and then it kick-started from there, really, and then the rest is kind of what's going on now, I guess.
So going back to your your uni YouTube sort of days, I mean, how did you sort of like cope with like those first kind of meetings with like the likes of Tyson Fury, AJ Fury? Was you able to sort of handle it sort of like in your stride, or was there like a little bit of like, do you mean like looking at the stars? How did you manage that? How did you cope with that kind of pressure?
You know what? I kind of take that stuff in my stride quite well. I'm not one to get starstruck much. I appreciate what they achieved, and obviously it still is massive for me in that sense because what they've achieved is unbelievable and whatnot. But I've always been quite good at handling things like that. I know there's a job there to do, and that's to ask the best questions you possibly can and get the most out of them you can as well. And if you're being starstruck in front of them, you're probably not going to get great answers out of them. So, and you get used to it after a while as well. When you've seen them a couple of times, like it has become like the norm in the street, really.
Comes over that.
Yeah, you get to understand it. When you're seeing like you see Eddie Hearn like 3 or 4 days a week, it's just the same man that you see 3 times last week. So it gets like that where you get to see everyone as normal people. That's what they all are at the end of the day. So yeah, and then kind of just got used to it and got into the management game instead because it's much more career driven for me, like proper salary, and I like to have control of people's careers rather than like just asking about them, I guess. And I feel like I've got a lot more qualities in that field.
Yeah, I suppose with obviously SJAM, then obviously they've you started about 2017, and so it's only 5 years into the business, but they've got quite a good foothold and they're quite well established within the boxing circle now. And how much of that success do you think is driven by the right recruitment at the very beginning to get where you are?
Yeah, I think so. And it's pretty much the Sam and Adam at the beginning. And I think they did a tremendous job. I mean, obviously, Adam's still on the team, still the main guy on the team, actually. And yeah, I think Sam and Adam done a great job. He's had some great talent. Some talent that are still with us, some that are not. But mostly are still with us. And they did. It's very hard when you start off because you kind of want like a big name to like propel you, to help you attract other names to sign with you. It's very hard to just get the first one. And I think they've done very well to get Joe Joyce in the beginning. And I think that's what helped them attract other talent.
Yeah,
and that definitely helped. And then so yeah, they did very well. They did very well, and I feel like they've signed. We've got many other star names now. I think they did a superb job early doors because it's hard. They're going into a world where like Adam had already worked in boxing for 20 odd years. He'd been working as a lawyer, like representing Matchroom or Frank Warren at various different times, and I think other guys as well. So he already had a bit of a background for Sam. He kind of just came into it like maybe a bit novice in a sense because I'd never been in there before, and he got the grips of it quite quickly and quite well as it showed. So yeah, they did incredibly well in that sense, very well. And Adam's still doing an amazing job of SRAM today and taking it to new heights. We've got a lot of big names, a lot of fighters coming through, and I feel like we're in a really good place. We've expanded the team as well. We've got a lot bigger since then. So yeah, no, it's going on. Good on.
Yeah, so I suppose, but that recruitment obviously continues. Like you said, obviously Sam's moved on, and obviously it's opened the door for you. I suppose that's got to be like a massive vote of confidence for yourself, but also how many 25-year-olds? I think you're 25.
26 now.
26,
getting older.
26 now, getting old now. Yeah, are in the sort of position that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I owe a lot of props and a lot of credit to Adam Morley for showing trust in me, because he could have got maybe someone a bit older, a bit wiser in. But I've been with Adam a while now, and I feel like he believes in me and he trusts me. So why not give it to someone who's younger who can maybe help drive the company in that direction, rather than giving it to someone who's maybe a bit older and experienced. You know, like we trust each other, we work together. So working so far, I know it's not been like too long I've been in this position, so I don't want to like say too much about how well it's going, because even though it is going well, but it's not been that long. But it's going well so far, and I always appreciate, and I'll never forget the fact that he gave me this opportunity at such a young age. And I just use it as motivation, really, to push on even further. Like we've got this far, but I can't imagine how much more we can push on. We're going to go a lot further than that, and it's a massive compliment from Adam to give me that kind of role at just 26 years old. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's, again, I think to myself, so you're in a position now, and I look at obviously what it is you do, and obviously you're an agent for boxers to do. You look after boxers. So what I was trying to work out is, when you're looking at a potential client or a potential boxer, is there a certain profile that fits the type of boxer that you bring in to SJAM?
Yeah, I would say there is in a way. I mean, you've always got to have some kind of appeals about it, otherwise it kind of what you're kind of looking for, I guess. I mean, listen, not all of our fighters are the same. There's not like a direct like guideline. They've got to have this one. All of our fighters are completely different backgrounds, completely different abilities, completely different ages, completely different amateur careers, some no amateur careers. So there isn't like a to-do list, and they've got to tick out all these boxes. But what it is, they've just got to have a few things that you would like. Like some of them might be able to be a brand, like Florian Marku, massive name when we signed him, got a big name all over the world, a lot of followers. Didn't have an amateur career, but he's still got ability and he's still got all the other things, right?
Yeah. And
then you get other fighters, Joe Joyce, amazing amateur career, doing well as a pro. Obviously, we took him from the pro game anyway, and like he ticks other boxes. Then you've got who else was say is an example? Like Guido, great amateur again. Guido Vanello was Olympian as well. And you've got Johnny Fisher, no amateur career really. Not a lot of the other stuff. He's got the brand, he's got the fans, he's got the ability now as well, because he's actually improving tons in the gym, and he's got the dedication. I think the overall things that they've got to have, no matter what, because you're not going to get anywhere in this game anyway. It's dedication, loyalty, and that's probably the two main things. I think anything else you can kind of get as time goes on. You don't even have to be the best fighter in the world when you first sign. But you just put time, you put in a plan, you get them in the right team, and the rest of that comes. But I think dedication and loyalty are two massive things that are very important. Because if you want to work as a team, being loyal is very important. That's the same vice versa, that's back to them too. And dedication, you need to be dedicated. There's not a sport more in the world you need to be more dedicated to than boxing if you want to reach any kind of level. So I think they're the two main things. But other than that, it's just so many different things, because like I said, so many of our different fighters have got different kind of attributes, shall I say. So it'd be hard to pinpoint like 4 ones that we really look for. It just depends. You just got to have that right fit for us. We feel like we can do our best for you, and you feel like you can do the best for us. That's the best relationship.
Cool. And then who identifies like the talent that's going to come in the door? So how does that work? Who noticed the prospects? How do you get the information on who to go and look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's just following the sport religiously. I follow the sport religiously, so I'll go to amateur shows, I watch amateur shows, I talk to people all the time, like people I trust. in the game. A lot of fight, you know, a lot of talent comes to us too.
Right.
And that's a massive compliment to us. Because like these guys come to us and they want us to look after their careers. It's not like we're chasing them and annoying them in their inboxes. Even though we have done that before as well. But most of the time, and not most of the time, sometimes they come to us too. Like I get DMs every single day, and so does Adam. We were talking about earlier in the office section. Like random DMs, random DMs all the time. But it's all about finding the right guys that you feel like we can give 100% to, because that's what's important to us as well. We wouldn't take on anyone that we can give 100% to, and we don't believe that we can make a success. So just that really. But like, yeah, it's keeping up to date with what's going on in the amateurs. No, is that keeping up to date what's going on in the pro world as well? Like we signed some guys that have already had pro bouts and stuff like that as well. And keeping in contact with people that we trust, people we know who know their boxing. That could be like trainers and whatnot. And then keeping in contact with them, going and watch guys spar, all these kind of things really. So they're all the kind of things that you need to do to get to know who's around the circuit and who's good and who's not really.
Right. So let's say for instance, I've been identified as a prospect, and someone's give you like a heads up, go and speak to me, sort of thing. How do you sell SJAM to me for me to sign on the dotted line? Because like I'm a young boxer and I'm thinking, right, I've got to trust myself with someone. How do you sell SJAM to me? So I'm signing the line.
I mean, what I would probably do is I'd say you can have a look at what we've done already so far. I think it's always important. It's almost like a CV, isn't it? Like you look at what we've done elsewhere. I'd probably suggest that maybe speak to a couple of the fighters, like, and see what they think and see what they tell them. I would say I'd write a detailed plan out for them, what we could do this year, because obviously it's hard to say, like, if they've never made their pro debut before, we could have this, maybe 5 fights this year. So here's so then we monitor where we are here, then we go here, and then we can look for this title, then we can move up the rankings this way, and we can go this way, and we can go that way. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to kind of tell them a detailed plan on why you can make them the best that they can be, and why you can make sure they get here as quick as they want to, or they can get this way, they want to go and do it this way. Like, it's always just make sure there's a detailed plan on where and how they can get to where they want to get to, and why you're the person to be able to get them that way. And I think it's all good saying that. Anyone can just say that really, but I would then get them to speak to our fighters and ask them how they feel. I don't think the fighters would ever lie to them about how they feel. And I'll just say, well, have a look and see what you think about what we've already achieved with our fighters. I mean, it's a proven track record that we've done it for our guys before, so there's no reason why we couldn't do it again.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing. You've got people like Joe Joyce in your camp, and you've got Lerone Richards in there. Who's just picked up a title. You can obviously like point at these fellas and say, look, this is progression, and this is a path that we can go along. So that's that. I was guessing that's pretty much where you go along with that one. So let's say, for instance, you sign me up. How does this work? Is this like you give me like, I'll just think of football terms. Is this like you give me a year contract? You give me an 18-month contract? How does that work for a boxer?
It's usually like a standard contract that is like a 3-year deal.
Right.
But if you win a title, it can be extended by a further 2 years. That's a standard one. Listen, not all of our fighters work through the contract. That's just usually the standard go-to contract. And there are obviously clauses and ways that contract can be terminated, like criminal convictions and things like that, or putting the company into dispute, like maybe you do something silly on a night out or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So things like that. But yeah, that's quite the standard contract that a fighter would maybe get. And then we'd talk about percentages that you take off of them and stuff like that. And there's also the commitment that we give to them, like a certain amount of media we get them to attract them sponsorships as well, like all these kind of things as well that come into it as well, because it's not just getting them a fight date and then getting them in the ring and with the right opponent. You've got all the other stuff outside of that as well. So we'd want a bit from them and they'd want a lot from us, and that's the way it should be.
So again, that's all down to sort of like how you promote the fighter and how you sort of like obviously get the fighter on board as well, because like you're saying, you track the path for them, you help them out sort of like commercially, you get them known, and you get a reputation for them. And I suppose that's a hard thing for a boxer to do on his own without the help of a consultant like yourself.
I mean, if you look at our stable, right, so we've got fighters signed to every major TV platform and every major promoter pretty much. We've got fighters signed to ESPN. We've got fighters signed to Sky Sport. We've got fighters signed to Zone. Fighters signed to BT Sports. We actually had a fighter signed to Triller as well. Right, so we've had fighters signed to all the major platforms, all major promoters as well. None of our guys are not, and girls. So yeah, like it's just already written in that way. And I mean, and that's a major and important part of getting a fighter sponsorship deals, getting fighters active. Because all fighters want to do is be able to fight on TV, achieve as much as they can, earn as much money, and get out safe. And that's our job, to ensure that all of those things happen.
Right. So I think I think it's quality. I think we've got pretty much the information of like the ins and outs of the boxing of the consultancy side. And that's, I mean, for our viewers, none of us get to hear this. We see like promoters and we see the faces, but we never get to understand the inside of it. So that's it, the nail on the head for us in respect to that. So if I look at the other side, which is just as important, if not more so, it's the stable. Without the stable, you have no S-Jam. So
yeah, of course.
If we're looking like, for instance, Joe Joyce, I think he's promoted Queensbury with Frank Warren. A lot of his fights go through there. For me, it's almost like he's been in limbo to a degree. He fought Dubois, he fought Takum, and it feels like he's due at some point.
Yeah,
a shot at a title, and it just seems like there's so much going on in the heavyweight division that he seems to be sort of like he's in and out the cones.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is, yeah. So he was meant to fight in February, but he got an injury to his arms. That was really frustrating. He had a really good training camp in Vegas. Now he's going to be fighting in May. Obviously, the titles are a little bit tied up in a limbo at the moment. Are in limbo at the moment. So yeah, it's got to kind of wait and buy our time really until that kind of settled. I mean, it looks like we're getting somewhere now with Dylan White and Fury fighting each other. I think Usyk and AJ will be fighting in June. And then it looks like the winners will probably collide in November time. And then I believe that the belts have probably all become vacant, I think, because I think the winner of that fight will retire at the end of the year, potentially. But the belts become vacant anyway because all the mandatories are going to get called and it's going to be impossible to defend against four mandatories at the same time. So the belts become vacant. So for us now, I think what we need to do is keep Joe busy in very good fights, keeping the fans talking about him, keeping them interested in him, selling out arenas, getting Joe paid well is important as well. And I think we could be looking at a world title shot in February, March time next year. I felt like it's frustrating because I really wanted it to be this year, but the whole Fury Usyk thing not happening, and then like the winner fighting AJ, that would have really helped bring that title fight forward. But it hasn't. But listen, nothing can be done about that. But what we can do is keep Joe earning good money, keep him ready, keep him fighting good opposition, keep the ring rust away, and get him a title shot as soon as we can. And that's not to say that we won't have a title shot before that, but it's to say that we probably will have a title shot latest by February, March.
Yeah, I think one of the annoying things about the box, I'm locking on a bit. I'm 50, so back in the day when I used to remember the heavyweight boxing, there used to be a heavyweight champion. He'd have a fight, he'd win his title, lose his title. There wasn't all these rematch clauses, and it just seems like it's standard now. Like whoever's having a fight, it's a rematch. So there's always an even bigger delay where sometimes you think get rid of the rematch clauses, have your fight, win your fight. If you lose your fight, you have to fight someone third or fourth in the ranking to get back in again. This is all slightly annoying for the heavyweights, I think. But
I mean, it is frustrating. I agree with you. I feel like if you're a mandatory challenger, there's not meant to be rematch clauses in that contract anyway.
Right.
So it is frustrating. Of course it is. And I mean, like Usyk AJ it wasn't a close fight. So a rematch isn't necessarily needed when it's such a one-sided fight. So it is frustrating, but it's here, it's happening. You just got to deal with what's going on around you, really, rather than getting upset or getting annoyed by it. Because at the end of the day, it's reality. It's what boxing is today. It's common. I'm not going to say that my fighters haven't ever had rematch clauses, because they do. So I'll be quick to proper go in on it, I guess. But it is what it is. As long as Joe's keeping active, earning good money, and still on course for world title shot, I'll be happy. Once that world title shot comes, I know that he'll be able to rip that belt off of whoever's got it at the time and take it home.
So you've got a world champion in there now, and you've got an IBO champion. You've got Lerone Richards, and I like him. He's quality, I think. I like him. I like his style. I like the way he fights. 16 and 3, or 16-0 with 3 knockouts, I think he's got. But I think the fella that he fought, it wasn't a give me, was it, to win that title?
No, listen, Carlos Congor is a real problem, man. I'm telling you, he would knock out a lot of super middleweights. I mean, he already has. Knocking out people like Ali Akhmedov and whatnot in the 12th round. And Ali Akhmedov was meant to be the next Triple G and whatnot. So listen, he's a serious fighter. And I know a lot of he would have knocked out Zach Parker, he would have knocked out Rocky Fielding, he would have knocked out loads of guys quite comfortably as well. He would have had a lot of trouble doing so. Very good fighter. He was meant to be the standing opponent when Billy Joe Saunders was going to pull out against Canelo. Right. But this is the kind of level we're talking about here with Gungor. This guy can really mix it. And this is why I didn't see anyone calling him out. I feel a bit bad for Gungor. He'll find it very hard to get opponents now, because I don't know why anyone would want to fight him. Absolute nightmare to box. So very good fighter, very good amateur as well. He can punch like horse kicks. Yeah,
I think he was 20-0 or something when the Ronnie took the fight on. So do you mean it was? He don't duck no one. And what are we saying for him? What's his progression? Where do we think we're going to see Richards in the next year or 2 years? He's got to be up there.
Yeah, do you know what? For me, he's already number 3, number 4 in the super division now anyway. I mean, I could easily put him at the top as well. I mean, if Canelo's not mixing around there. I think he's a very tough man to beat. He's slick southpaw, great chin, great work rate. He's got a lot to offer, and I mean, he's got great footwork as well. And I think for him, he's going to have a fight in April/May, potentially in the UK, potentially abroad. He's going to be kept very busy. He's going to keep fighting at a good level. He wants to go up rankings in other governing bodies as well. He likes and respects the IBO, and he's a proud IBO champion. But I think he wants to look at maybe going up the IBF rankings,
right?
And fighting some good guys up there as well. Lorraine will fight anyone, honestly. He really would fight anyone. He would fight Zach Parker. Zach Parker's never really beaten anyone. I don't really know how he's worked his way up to WBO #1. It's ridiculous in my opinion, but he'll fight anyone and everyone. He wants to fight. He wanted to fight the winner of Danny Jacobs, John Ryder this weekend. He'll be ringside to monitor that situation. So yeah, listen, he's right up there. He will fight anyone, and he wants to fight anyone.
Yeah, so I think the fact that he's with Matchroom, obviously Eddie sees something in him as well. So Eddie's always one for backing a good horse, isn't it, at the end of the day? So I think we can potentially see him. He will go sort of progress and pick something up, like say IBF potentially. The next one I wanted to talk about is Florian Marku, because I love him. I love his confidence. I love everything about him. But for me, when I look at him, all I think of is he's like a ticking time bomb. What's it like to manage that man?
You know what? It's exciting, and you know what? He is sometimes a ticking time bomb. But I love managing him, being a part of his team. I love working with him. He's crazy a lot of the time. He is volatile, but you know what? He loves this sport. He wants to do so well in this sport, and he almost trains and works too hard sometimes. It can be his downfall at times. But do you know what? He's never really had a proper team, like training team. Right. A lot of the time, he's just been training himself. And his nutrition hasn't always been the best. But now he's set a proper team getting trained by Grant Smith. He trained Sonny Edwards and trained many other very good world champions and great fighters as well. He's got a proper team down there in Sheffield. He's got a proper nutrition team, proper strength and conditioning team, and I'm really excited for this year ahead for him. It looks like he'll be fighting in April in the UK, and then I think we'll be looking at August in Albania. So he's got a massive year, biggest year of his career coming up now. We want to get him up those IBF rankings. I think he's number 12 at the moment. Keep defending our IBF international title. We'll get some good opponents in there. We're not looking at beating easy guys. I think Florian's the kind of guy, he looks better the more he steps up. I think him fighting these lower level guys, he sometimes goes down to their level. So I think the plan is to defend that belt, get him up the rankings, and work out what way to go then and get him a title shot eventually. But he's got a lot of work to do. He's willing to work hard. He always does work hard. He's got a new team, and I'm really excited to see where he'll be in the next couple of fights.
Yeah, he's got a massive following, isn't he? That's the thing about him. He is the king of Albania, as far as they're concerned. The following is absolutely massive, and I think that makes all for the experience when you go and watch one of his fights. Like the last fight he was seeing, I think it was a case of it was too easy for him, and he did things that you would never expect him, or you would never advise him to do. But when he knows he's got something in the bag, it was a bit like that. But yeah, I do like watching him. You mentioned Johnny Fisher earlier.
Fighting this weekend.
Yeah, I was about to say Saturday. That's at the Ali Pali. So
yeah.
What can we
going to the hotel tomorrow? Actually,
I thought it's the 12th. Is it a Saturday?
Yeah. So we're going to the hotel tomorrow. The team get to the hotel tomorrow, the Hilton. Then we pretty much do the fight week, all the media stuff, and we go into the ring Saturday.
So what can the punters expect to see from Johnny Fisher on that evening?
The same again. Mental crazy fans singing their hearts out, supporting their local lads, who's going to go in there, give his all, put it all on his opponent, who's actually a good little test for him, actually, a good little step up. Decent ranking for him as well. And expect another dominant, ferocious Johnny Fisher display, and where everyone's going to get really drunk and have a smashing good time at the Ali Pali, probably singing some random songs, probably talking about vaccinations, talking about getting old with one another, and then having a good night, and hopefully everyone gets home safe, hopefully. And hopefully Johnny Fisher's opponent gets home safe as well. But yeah, no, I expect another good performance from him. Do you know what? He's a very humble lad who works so hard in the gym, so dedicated to his craft, knows that he's not like at such a level yet, but he's worked hard and he will get there one day because of just his dedication and his mindset really alone will take him very far. And he's such a pleasure to work with. I really mean that. Such a pleasure to work with someone who's so honest, so humble and so lovely and just wants to do well at the school. And he's doing amazing so far. Who in their fifth pro fight was doing things like this? No one, not AJ, no one was doing anything like this. This is completely new. This guy didn't even have the amateur background. He didn't get the Olympic gold medal where he comes in and everyone just loves you already. He had none of that. He's just a boy from Romford. He loves a bit of a scrap, really, and now he's doing really well at it. So, yeah. Really excited about that one. Really excited about that Johnny Kid going.
Did he not fall into your lap a little bit? Did he respond to some sparring for Joe Joyce? Is that how it come about? Is that how he actually came into the team?
Yeah, so he came in, slid in the DMs, as we say. We got him out to Vegas, sparred Joe, a very good account of himself for someone who was pretty much a raw novice at the time. We liked him, we all become really good friends. Obviously spent a lot of time together. And then, yeah, you know what, we'll sign Johnny, we'll give him a chance, give him an opportunity and try our best for him. Spoke to a few guys, got to deal with Matchroom. And then the rest has just done itself, really. The hard work's just doing itself. I mean, he's done well. He's so well known in Romford, very supportive people. And that fan base is just growing rapidly now. I mean, I thought after the first fight, you'd get less the second time, but they'd have done over 3,000 tickets this time if they were given them. So it was crazy.
Well, it worked out well. And I suppose the other fight that I was going to sort of mention was Hedges. He's fighting shortly as well at some point. He's a southpaw and he's 6'5". 4-0.
Getting bigger all the time. I think he's bigger than that now.
Yeah, I think he could turn out to be quality as well. So, what do you think from him for his progression?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm really excited about the John Hedges one. I'm not going to say all fighters, but this one specifically, actually, more since it's different to some others, it's like John is like, so he didn't have the debut that he'd have hoped or wanted. And since then, he's worked really hard, looked really good in the last fight, career best performance for him. And he's fighting the Okoli undercard, February 27th. And I expect a career best performance again. He's looking good in the gym. He's getting more confident. That's the key with John. The ability's always been there, and he's always been a very good fighter. He's a good amateur, and he spars against very good guys and more than holds his own. But it was more of a confidence thing, and the confidence starting to come through a bit more now. And I believe in his next fight, you will see a proper career best performance from John Hedges. And I'm really, really excited for it and looking forward to it because he deserves it. He works hard in the gym. And another good performance was taking him up another level or two, I think.
That's the 27th of February. Is that the O2 Arena?
Yeah, O2 Arena, yeah. Okoli undercard. A few other good fights in that bill. Galao, fight next day, but that card as well. So, yeah, there's a good few fights in that bill.
Quality. Well, there's probably a few more boxes that at this point I can't mention, but I don't want to offend anyone by not mentioning those boxes. What we'll do is I'll have to leave that for a part 2 TRSB podcast with Shane Watson in the future. I'll just say it's been a pleasure to have you on this evening. Like I said, it's sort of like opened my eyes up to a few things. There's like, I'm 50, there's things I didn't know about boxing, how it works. I had an opinion, but it's nice to actually have someone to say exactly what's going on. So again, pleasure to have you on. Anything you want to say? Anything coming up?
Thanks for having me on as well. I really appreciate coming on. Good to have your time on here and speak to the guys who are listening as well. We're going to say the big Johnny Fisher performance this weekend, and hope everyone else enjoys watching it as well.
Lovely. Well, I'll tell you what, pleasure speaking to you, and you have a good evening.
Lovely. Take care, man. Take care of yourself, yeah?